Hi, and welcome to New England NEL5R. This is our fourth podcast episode. As always, I'm Eric. With me, as always, is Luis.
Hi, hello.
And Brandon.
How's it going?
And our special guests this week are, again, Derek.
Hey.
And a new member, Lauren.
Hi.
Cool. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into our first topic of discussion, which is going to be the letters for lore nerds, and then for people who aren't lore nerds, cards associated with those letters for those clans.
Yeah, let me get this going, Derek. I got you. Alright, should be up.
First up is Dragon.
Yeah, Edge is being terrible. There we go. So, you know the deal. Clan champion Togashi Okuni has foreseen a series of events that will soon crash upon Rokugan. He has dispatched the army of the Rising Wave led by Miyamoto Hitomi and Togashi Mitsu to Oda-san Uchi in anticipation of such an occurrence. I'm not going to read word for word what's there, but that's
Dragon
the setup
Hatamoto
for
gets the next
dragons.
choice.
Yep, the Dragon Hatamoto at Worlds, or Winter Court, gets to choose the family, the samurai of the family they would like to represent. You know. Or will respond directly to what Yokuni has foreseen. There we go. If selected, a samurai of the Togashi family observes the coming events to better understand their destiny. A samurai of the Miyamoto family secures Oda-san Uchi against any possible threats. A samurai of the Kitsuki family investigates the intrigues of the Forbidden City. And a samurai of the Agasha family delves into the darkness and the mystical secrets within the Forbidden City.
Derek,
What's up?
which one do you think is the coolest?
Dragons on none.
Yeah, I don't know. Kitsuki are always cool because they investigate in a fluff setting where no one investigates anything. So, them.
I mean, have you read the Scorpion book? It's like nonstop investigation. All
They
the
should
way
have just made it a buddy cop.
It was. They finally did a buddy cop book. It was that. I've been
I
saying
own it. I have
day
not
one.
read it yet.
Oh, it's so good. You should totally read it.
At the end, they bury all the evidence because they're Scorpion.
Probably.
What?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
No, that's crazy talk.
I will be happy if it's Kitsugi or Agasha. I like the sound of both of those. I just hope whoever is Hatamoto at Worlds does not pick Togashi, because that seems like the story choice you pick if you just want nothing to happen.
They
Yeah.
probably will.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Or like if you want whatever happens to absolutely fuck you up, right?
Or if they, instead of like future lore, they just want like cryptic riddle.
Mhm.
Ah, yes, it'll be a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
answer from Brad. And just like when they asked about, you know, those monk
I don't want
cards,
to talk
right?
about it.
Yeah, nice cryptic riddles.
We're not talking about
The
that
obvious
today.
answer is the Kitsuki, so, you know, next. Here's a fucking card. This was the, this was a dragon card that was spoiled during the AMA that they had. This is Karmic Balance. It is a 2-fate event. It is a dragon card. It is 4 influence. Philosophy: play only if your honor bid is equal to an opponent's. Action: each player shuffles his or her hand and conflict discard pile into his or her conflict deck and draws 4 cards. Remove this card from the game. It's really weird.
I'd like to go first.
Go for it.
Derek.
Someday there will be a combo deck, and this shit will be broke. Until then, this shit is useless.
Yeah.
So, talking about that and saying that like it's going to be the part of a combo, like we were talking about it at dinner last weekend. Don't you think it'll be kind of hard to ever utilize in some sort of combo setting with the play only if your honor bid is equal to your opponent's clause?
I mean, there's 2 bids that exist right now, right?
Right, but like this is going to come out in a pack that's designed to make other bids exist.
It depends on where the combo is. I mean, like if it's Dragon and Scorpion, you'll just like Maze of Illusion them, right? So,
Sure.
I don't
So
see
no.
any situation in which this would be broken when it's 2 cost.
Yeah.
I think this card is dog shit.
The 2 cost hurts it, like, there would have to be a lot of really degenerate moving parts that somehow make this advantageous to you after you spend 2 fate on it, you know?
And the 4 influence means if the degenerate interaction is outside of Dragon, it's going to be really hard to ever sculpt a winning deck around it.
True.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, by this time next year, Port of the Dragon will be out. So like, maybe.
Yeah, but
Oh
the
man.
support roles mean giving up a lot of strength inherently from elemental roles.
The
Like,
vast
that's just-
majority of the clans.
Yeah,
like,
but it sounds like that's the sort of thing like a weird
Yeah.
Genki combo
I-
deck would do.
Sure.
I think there's definitely a world where this does become a problem. I'm just not sure if it ever comes to fruition. Just because that 2 fate cost on it is really brutal. Like it's hard to create advantage off of a symmetrical card that you paid for.
Let's talk about the card without the idea that like someday in the future it could be part of a broken strategy. Like let's talk about it in the game that exists right now.
Throw it away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, Lauren,
Um,
you fit in so well.
We're done. Get rid of it.
There's not much else to really say on it, right? It's
So-
just bad.
I mean, yeah, certainly it has its shortcomings, but like if it resolves in a matchup where one player has a significant
Oh, this kills Scorpion. This kills
Like-
the Scorpion.
This kills the Scorpion.
yeah.
But like, you're gonna spend 2 fate, and you're gonna go to play a card from hand, and they're already gonna have a Forged Edict slammed on the table because they see you spending fate in
Yeah.
the card. Like,
Yeah.
And it's in the Dragon matchup where I have nothing else to Forge Edict.
Right. Well, you have some stuff now.
yeah, you can hit Void Fist.
Yeah, Void Fist, I guess.
Fucking Void Fist, man.
Even then, like they're Void Fisting my like 1-drop, so whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes they're Void Fisting your Kachiko that got Seal the Dragon, right?
Oh, for sure. Sure. Yeah.
Oh no.
But yeah, like, I think I get what they're going for with this, right? Especially like the honor bid being equal. It's a clear effort for them to be like, you know, hey, sometimes you're bidding 1 and Scorpion has 20 cards on you because that's what Scorpion does, and this card is like,
Or 5.
yeah, or 5, and this card is like the go fuck yourself Scorpion card. There's also the idea that like if you're both bidding 5 and you just slam this, Scorpion's conflict cards are worth more than yours, so you're gaining that like some amount of advantage on that. Like just period, Scorpion conflicts card, they're worth more than your Dragon conflict cards.
Especially if
period.
you attach half of yours first.
Right.
Yeah,
Ian is talking about the fact that they're also attachments a lot in a Dragon deck.
yeah. No, that is a very like. I don't know if I see a world where this is played, but like I do get the idea they were going for, and I don't think it's entirely unsound. I just think this card might not be there.
I think the costs are too high, and not just in the Fate part. But like, I do see the merit to it. I just don't see it making a sleeve.
Yeah. I wonder if this even makes a sleeve for testing. It just doesn't seem like it's even like a 2 fate event is just hard to justify. You have to really blow somebody out with it, and this is a bit late. And yes, Vivali Bearable it is. Anybody have any closing thoughts on this, or just thoughts? I'm sorry if we gloss over anything. All right.
In the binder, forget it exists.
Yeah. Yeah, one day you'll be looking at your binder and be like, oh shit, I paid for this card.
Lauren is aggressive.
I mean, yeah, but like it comes with like 300 other cards. So like,
Nah, yeah, you know, whatever.
it's like a
LCGs.
So
Yeah.
here's some more lore for y'all. This is the Crane letter, with the elemental imbalance off the coast indicating a disturbance among the kami of the Sea of the Sun goddess. Doji Hotaru is sending her husband to request the aid of the Fox clan. Once again at Winter Court or Worlds for everybody. The Hatamoto Crane will choose a family, and a samurai from that family will accompany. What's his name? Doji Kuzunobu.
Doji Kuzunobu.
So, if selected, a samurai of the Doji family brings beautiful gifts for the Fox clan to remind them of their long-standing friendship with the Crane. A samurai of the Kakita family protects Doji Kuzunobu from threats that lurk in the perilous Kitsune forest. A samurai of the Asahina family offers to assist the Fox clan with locating the clan's missing Nemuranai. And a samurai of the Daidoji family offers their protection of the Fox clan in exchange for their support. I kind of like the idea of a Daidoji family Extorter.
Did they ever like mention in the lore before that Hataru was married, or is this the first mention?
This is the first thing I believe we've
This
been
is
mentioned.
the first mention, but I believe she also thought about it in the initial Crane fiction. She like mentioned her husband or
Hmm.
something.
Okay. I again hope they pick the Shugenja family, because the Shugenja family, for each one of these, the Shugenja family always seems like just sounds really fucking cool.
Yeah.
So I'd really love to read about them finding Fox Clan artifacts. That sounds neat, but like,
It does sound neat, but it does sound like if cost attachment.
You totally cut out there. For
Yeah,
me.
you
I'm
cut
not
out.
Oh,
Sure,
sure.
again.
sorry. It sounds like if the Asahina family's chosen,
They're
we're
gonna
gonna get
print
another
more.
2-cost attachment.
Yeah.
Is that not what
Amen.
everyone else
That
thinks?
is, that is the saddest way to look at these.
It's just what it seems like to me.
I kind of.
Brandon, I want to read the story.
Well,
I don't want another 2-cost attachment though.
I don't
mean,
want
I'm
another
kinda-
2-cost attachment that's unplayable. Yeah,
Well, I guess we'll pick the Kakita family.
yeah, that's my vote.
Y'all suck.
Sorry for ruining the fun.
I like the, I don't know, I just like the wording of the Daidoji family one, because I mean obviously it wouldn't be an extorter, but I really like the idea of it being taken the wrong way, and the Fox Clan telling the Crane to go fuck themselves. Don't pick the Kakita family. That's really the important thing. Because Kakita are lame.
Wow. Okay.
This isn't a spoiler. It's a Zero Fate event. It's a Crane event. It is 2 influence. It's called Try Again Tomorrow. Action: during a conflict in which you control a participating honored courtier character, choose an attacking character, move that character home. I'll preface this by saying that I've heard whispers on the wind that even the Crane chat got a little bit unruly about this card, which is really strange because the Crane chat in the L5R main Discord, they're really, as weird as it might sound, like kind of cliched, but they're genuinely very polite people that were pretty cool to each other when I was there. But I guess
So
they were
they're
coming to
unruly,
blows
they don't
about
like
this,
it?
dude. No, I guess they were like
they're
arguing,
torn.
like yeah. I don't know how they are now, but I guess like the on the day of the spoiler, there was like some serious arguments going on about it. I mean, this is active a lot, and it has no actual costs compared to like Outwit, which costs 1, and it has slightly more versatility, I think. But like, I'm not sure if it's worth a sleeve because Crane's conflict deck is already incredible.
I like it a lot for like other clans.
For other clans?
I could see this in Phoenix.
Well, I mean, like a different clan. I mean, I know it's not possible, but something like this would be helpful for other clans.
Oh, you're saying if there was a card like this, but in a different color.
Yeah,
Not this
exactly.
exact card. Okay.
I could actually see this being played in the future in a Phoenix, like, if they continue along messing with Crane Splash, more courtiers and stuff get printed. Like, this is almost as live for Phoenix as it is for Crane. It might be more live for Phoenix than it is for Crane, as weird as it is to say, like with stuff like Suki and the other card. Like, I don't like that it doesn't bow, but obviously it couldn't bow at 0 cost, right? The versatility is nice, where if you attack in, you could send one of your dudes home, like you could overcommit, but I'm not sure. Not really sure about this one.
Send homes are like very, very powerful or very, very dead a lot of the time. And like they're things that like if you see them like something when Lion is playing like 4 send homes, they get a lot of value out of those because they're aggressively, breaking things and trading their breaks for their opponent's breaks, just being faster. And Crane is like the political aggressive deck can do that, and they can use send homes to their advantage, especially if you're going later in the turn. Like if you can punch somebody out of a conflict at the end of a round where they can no longer get use from that character, that's very good. It's going to be good in certain matchups where they are going to be using unbows, or the mountain does not fall to defend multiple times. You can kick them out of the second one. and it also works on sending your own guys home, which is not bad. But it does have a lot of not fate costs, but a lot of costs.
I think it's more the opportunity cost of running it rather than the actual
Yes.
cost of activating it.
Yeah, you have
Because
to
it's
fit
active
it
a
in.
lot. But yeah. Like
I think this card is this card reminds me of a line card. It's gated like one too many times.
Yeah.
You need a participating, honored courtier, and it only hits attackers.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has
Like-
4 costs.
Yeah, like it's so many gates on this card.
The before the dash on this card is 2.5 lines long, and the after the dash is half. a line.
Yeah. Fair point.
I mean,
Um,
the standout part of the card that for me is the
The
choose an
name?
attacking character move at home.
sure.
Like, I just I don't know if defensive send homes are like a thing I would ever willingly play.
Yeah, I mean they are much better on attack.
Hey, pump fake him on your attack, dude.
Yeah. I mean, you could, but like
Yeah.
I could just not and then break.
With only 2 conflicts, that's a
Now-
lot harder to do.
This would have been sick in the Hawk meta, dude. This would have been that anti-Hawk tattoo tech all day. I think the name really is what stands out for me. It's just called Try Again Tomorrow. What the fuck kind of name is that? They didn't even try. Like,
Right.
they didn't try at all. Like, what the
Really?
fuck kind
Yeah,
of
they
name?
did.
No, they had to have tried. If they
They have
didn't
to try
try, they
again
couldn't
tomorrow.
try again.
They were all sitting at the table and they couldn't come up with a name for this card. And they're
Yeah,
like,
Try Again
"Fuck it,
Tomorrow.
we'll try again tomorrow. Wait a minute.
You're fucking onto something, dude.
Well,
Look how
I'm-
dejected
my
that man
question is, so
Like the
it's a
guy who
crane
made the Hot
card.
Pocket jingle.
So it's a crane card sending home an attacking character. So but he's sad about it. So why is the crane on the card sad?
Well,
Because
He got sent
he's an
home,
honored
dude.
guy. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
attacking, and then he got sent home.
but why
Yeah,
would you do that?
He got
Why
politically
would you
shut
just-
down in a debate, man.
Because if you attack and they overcommit to block, you can just send your guy back home.
But then wouldn't you be happy about that and not sad?
My God.
No,
I
because
don't
he
know.
still didn't win. He was like, I guess I'll try again tomorrow.
Let's talk about something that like is.
Well, yeah, let's talk about some
How is
crazy
the match
shit.
going that long? Okay.
Shut up,
Sorry.
Brandon.
I'm gonna ban you.
I'm just giving you shit. So, they announced that. Let me see if I can find the relevant things. They changed the way role selection works. I'll let somebody else who isn't me explain that. But for Feast or Famine, with the new selection process in mind, Feast or Famine will be added to the restricted list shortly after the 2018 Winter Court World Championship. This neutral card would likely skew the votes of every clan toward a fire roll. Restricting the province makes it less
that's
appealing and encourages the clans to pursue their own slightly different priorities during the Elemental Championship voting process. Thank you.
Yeah.
This card should be outright banned. But restricting it is a fucking fantastic step in the right direction because it is toxic beyond toxic.
So Tyler made this card called Duty, which is something we'll talk about some other time. But Hawk Tattoo errata and Feast or Famine on the restricted list are 2 like huge, beautiful pieces of news that make me so happy.
It's just such a colossal step in the right direction.
I was the only person that actually ever used Hawk Tattoo as intended.
I mean, I definitely have. I've definitely used Hawk Tattoo to drag my Cunning Magistrate into 2 fights.
I've
while
used it
he's
on my
already
Guest
out.
of Honor as well. It's
Yeah.
fucking brutal sometimes.
I mean, those are also brutal interactions, but like nowhere near as brutal as just making
Losing the
your guy
game because you tried to
bow
advance
down.
the
Yeah.
game state.
Yeah.
Like, that's... I mean, we said it before, and I'll say it hopefully one final time. The problem with Feast or Famine is that your opponent can lose the game instantly on the spot for attempting to advance the game state. Almost by random chance.
So
and
right now
taking a
there are
card like
3
this out of the meta
clans.
is good.
There are 3 clans that can play Feast or Famine, and 2 of them are going to lose the ability to play Feast or Famine after Worlds. So Feast or Famine is fine. It's not on the restricted list until after
Yeah.
Worlds. So Lion and Dragon will be playing it with their fire rolls until they lose it. So really, this is the biggest
Unicorn
news for
will as well.
Unicorn players. Right. That's why I was just about to get to that. It's the biggest news for Unicorn players. So like, Lauren, do you think Unicorn needs to now hit and land on a new roll, or are you going to stay Keeper of Fire for Unleash Legion?
don't get to have nice things. You know, it's like we get something nice, and then they're like, "Whoops, that was a mistake," and they take it away. But that's fine. I don't know if another role would do anything more for us.
What about water for press of battle?
Press of battle's crazy. Just bowing a guy is nuts.
But is it worth it to have a water role for that?
That's what I'm
Yeah,
asking you.
that's definitely the big question.
I don't know. It's a hit or miss. I mean,
Which one's more important? Unleash the Jinn or press a battle? I mean, that's a hard question to answer since you probably haven't tested press a battle, but you know, just knee-jerk reaction.
press of battle would help, like if I'm facing a big tower, but
So does
unleash.
unleash.
And press a
Unleash the
battle.
Jinn helps always.
And press a battle doesn't help too much if they're unique. So
True.
Yeah.
Unleash helps in a lot more situations than press does.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. Unleash is just such set is such a powerful mechanic. It's hard to compete with.
It's oppressive, but
Yeah, it is oppressive. I mean, for sure.
It helps me so much against dragon.
yes, I mean you play Unleash the Jinn for the one of the big reasons is for the dragon matchup. I mean, it blows the dragon matchup out of the water.
I mean, it also just wins a lot of games. Like, I mean, if you
For
resolve
sure.
it and you're on the right spot, like, you know, unicorn players, like, they'll hold their Unleash because you resolve that, and then a lot of times you just win. They can't just slam characters down like you can.
And if I do, you know, if I get all my spirits out and then I unleash the Jinn, I mean, I just win.
Is there a world where you cut charge and keep running Feast or Famine?
Not worth it.
Yeah, my gut reaction was that I would love to still run Feast or Famine in Unicorn, but charge is so good.
The only thing I could say on the other side of that argument is like the 5 cost and the 4 cost. The only charge target in 4 is Shono, and you can play him. And then your 5 cost charge target, like, you know, he's good in that he's a stat brick that gives you refunds you a bit. But it's
And
not
that's pretty
that
much what
insane.
you want.
I
Shono
guess.
is just a massive brick of stats, right? He's still a brick of stats. I mean, that's what charge is.
But
for
you can't
Unicorn.
you can't just play Shono, you know.
Yeah, but like in Unicorn, you're not like charging in your Witch Hunter or your Kisada or like you're not charging in for the extra effects. You're charging in because you just need a big brick of stats.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that, you know, because your bigger guys don't really have crazy effects, they just have balls of stats. You know, would it be worth it to, you know, cut charge in favor of playing without charge for an insane province? But I'm just
I'm not sure. I feel like I'd rather use the charge to just get the dudes out because like paying for them in Unicorn feels really bad, dude. Like really, really bad.
But you yourself, we were talking about this last night,
Mhm.
was saying that one card in your conflict deck isn't worth having a better row.
There are exceptions to that rule. Like I do firmly
Okay.
believe that your row is the most important thing, but I think there are definitely times in which you have to consider your deck. It's kind of how I feel about Crab right now. Like I was on Keeper of Fire, or I wanted to be on Keeper of Fire until this announcement. Now, you know, it's just a no go. Although before anything, Derek, yeah, Derek, you play Lion. How does this affect you? Is Seeker of Void competitive enough with Keeper of Fire, or is it not quite there? How do you feel this hurts or changes Lion?
So I'm going to say something similar to what I said when Hawk Tattoo got changed, that the thing that this card does probably needs to be better in the game, which is like punish your opponent for playing a dude with 100 fate on it, but it probably is too good at doing that. So like I'm in some ways like sad to see it go because I am bored when people play one dude with 8 on it. But it's like too strong. Speaking specifically from like a line point of view, it causes your opponent to play kind of weird until they find it because they're not fading dudes, so they're like kind of playing into your plan of not fading dudes. So it prevents them from like establishing like a stable board state that like Lion doesn't really do. So like the longer that persists, like usually the better for Lion. Um, so like that stinks, but I'm like losing it at the same time it's getting restricted. So like I'm not too worked out about it. Compared to Seeker Avoid, Seeker Avoid's probably better against Scorpion. But it's like worse against some other clans. The money's like really good. I have mixed feelings about Shameful Display being like your second province as Lion. But Seeker Void's like really good. I'm not going to complain about it.
So, is the feeling on Shameful just due to not generally wanting to defend as often as you would attack, or?
I'm going to differentiate myself from other Lion players as like a me opinion, not like a widely shared opinion. But without like access to readies and things like that, I just think that we don't use Shameful as well as some others.
I see.
It's certainly not bad. Like I'm not saying it's bad. It's good. It's just like it's not the blowout that it is when like the Prodigy of the Wave defends it, dishonors you, honors itself, readies, like doesn't have to line.
Yeah. It's not really like advancing your game state.
Right.
Like it's stopping them from advancing theirs.
Especially if you have to block with a guy with no fade on it that you wanted to attack with.
Correct.
I see.
It's still good. And the fate is in line is like amazing. Like Seeker Fate in line is so good.
So with Feast or Famine being restricted, do we feel? Well, I feel this way, but does anybody else feel that this might open the door for them, kind of like what Derek said, to introduce this style of effect on a different card that is not nearly as ridiculously game-winning?
I think they have to, or the game is going to go bad.
I mean, between Feast or Famine and Consumed by Five Fires, it's like the only mass fate removal we have, and even then, like Consumed is mass. Yeah, Mono no Aore. That's true. Gerodgens, I guess.
I would like to see something that gets rid of a lot of fate off of characters, but like just a lot. So that way it wouldn't be too game breaking. So if people don't do it, just something that kind of changes the meta away from I'm just gonna put 9 fate on my character and then win.
I play Mitsu with 5. Pass.
Yeah,
I would be worried of them printing a card that is like Feast or Famine, but not Feast or Famine in the future. Only because I don't want one to be on the restricted list and one to not. I would like Feast or Famine to be banned if they're going to print another card like it. But
yeah, I agree.
I don't want someone to have the ability to get both.
Yeah. It's a scary proposition. And speaking of just even being really able to still play it, I've been on my little podium talking about this, right, for a bit now, but I wanted to get y'all's thoughts. I actually feel, and this is, I want to preface this by saying this is in the future, and this is entirely dependent on Children of the Empire, but I do feel as though Seeker of Fire might remain a top tier role, if not the best role for Dragon in the future. And what I mean by that is, if in Children of the Empire, as like a rough example, they print Hitomi as a 4-coster, and it's a viable replacement for Niten Master. It allows Dragon to open up their conflict deck. They likely cut Daisho. They could cut Pathfinder's Blades, and run 3rd Scout. I think they would go, right? I think they're not on 3 Scouts. They might be. So they'd run 3rd Scout, etc. Long story short, I think Dragon could still be fucking crazy.
Yeah, Dragon's definitely going to be crazy, but I am happy to see them kind of lose the ridiculous Seeker role, which brings us actually to a great segue into role selection.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, so there's some interesting bits about role selection. If it's cool, I'm just gonna run into that real quick.
Yes.
Yeah, dude. That's all you.
Yeah. So role selection this year. So they've announced some details about role selection coming up in Worlds, and also a little bit in future Worlds, and then they've announced some bits about role selection coming up for the elemental roles. So the big thing that's happening soon, obviously we have Worlds in like 2 weeks. As soon as Worlds roles are selected, they're going to go into effect immediately. And those roles are going to be available effectively until August of next year.
I thought it said the rules go into effect in January.
So in the future, the roles at Worlds will go into selection into effect in the January following Worlds. But their quote on their article is because players were already expecting the role selection at 2018 Worlds to happen immediately and replace them. They are doing it this year, but going forward, they plan on not having that go immediately. So to kind of keep to their new system where they like have three roles kind of juggling the course of the year. So we're gonna have each clan pick a role, pretty similar to how we did last year, except the difference now is as somebody who tops in a clan, you can't pick one of the two roles that your clan already has, and you also aren't allowed to draft any of the roles that have already been picked at that Worlds. So depending on how we see each clan finish, we could see some pretty irrelevant picks that don't affect anybody ahead, but it seems like they're kind of making it a lot harder for people to like hate draft roles from other clans because they have a pretty good one that they're just going to be able to ride for another 6 months, which I think is pretty nice. But they're doing things quite differently for elemental championships. So when I don't know if anybody's kind of picked up on that or if anybody wants to talk about Worlds before I kind of move on to that.
Well, let's
I
talk
think
about this first. Yeah.
Solid. Okay, yeah. So clans can pick any role that they don't already have, but they can't pick one that's already been picked. So kind of similar to last year's roles, right? What then do we see people picking? Do we want to kind of cover that, or do we want to just kind of?
Let's talk about Worlds.
Yeah, let's talk about Worlds.
Solid. All right. So every topping clan, person at the end of the tournament gets to pick the role that their clan's going to have until August of next year. And the whoever comes in first, their only restriction is going to be they can't pick.
So Dragon will pick first, and they
have.
can't pick Seeker of Fire or Keeper of Void.
Yep.
Hey, pick Seeker of Air, dude. Easy.
Yeah. So this is that's what I'm scared of. But so like if we have the top three clans, Dragon, Scorpion, and probably Phoenix will be the top three picks.
I think Crane could possibly squeeze into third, but yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think we'll see a strong showing from Crane at Worlds. And I think it's probably fair to say that we're going to see Lion and Crab probably pick towards the bottom of the bunch, unfortunately.
A strong showing from Crane could also knock Scorpion down into the middle.
That's true.
I think
So those unicorns are doing pretty well.
Yep,
yeah, I think Unicorn
solid
actually
middle of the
has
pack,
some
for sure.
serious like I think there could be some serious plays from Unicorn made at Worlds. Like we haven't really had a ton of time to see exactly what they're doing, but like in a competitive environment they might really, come out
So here's
horses blazing.
Here's what I'm like afraid of, right? It's like somebody has to hate Seeker of Void from Phoenix.
Yeah, they have to.
So
can't be
if we
Scorpion.
assume the top three clans are Dragon, Scorpion, Phoenix in that order, Dragon has to take Seeker of Void to stop Phoenix, which leaves us open for our role, which is Seeker of Air.
That also puts Dragon in a double Void role, which is not like.
Yeah.
At that point, they're becoming they're doing Scorpion's job, right? They're taking the bullet for everybody else, dude.
Or we can just live in a world where
Seeker Void Phoenix. For sure. Yeah, no, I don't want that to happen, but I'm just saying, like, as far as I understand, NEL has apparently, I don't want to put words in his mouth, so I apologize if that is the case, but he has apparently said that he wants to take Seeker of Air. He might have directly said from Scorpion, but I think he's spoken of it. It's also just good in Dragon, but...
Yeah, I feel like if from Scorpion wasn't part of that statement, I don't understand it.
I mean, Seeker of Air is probably the second best Seeker role in the game, right? Like, just by and large.
I guess after Restriction, Feast or Famine, yeah.
Like Void Air. We can talk about Feast or Famine, but just in general. Like, it's a good general role. You can't really go wrong by taking Seeker Air unless your clan desperately does not want a Seeker role.
Yeah.
Ian is saying Seeker of Air Scorpion is scarier than Seeker of Phoenix Seeker of Void Phoenix. I think that's so unbearably wrong.
I think Seeker of Air Scorpion is fucking terrifying, especially given, the release of
I
Duty. Mark of Shame is going to be a fucking problem. Like, it's going to be crazy. But the thing is, like, I think in all situations right now, we're damned if we do, damned if we don't. Scorpion either gets Seeker Air or Phoenix gets Seeker Void. And, like, regardless of the subjectivity of how we feel about either of those are both fucking miserable. Like, one might be worse, but...
So the Seeker of Air, obviously, I think is like the nuts for Scorpion right now. But like, would it be worth if they get denied Seeker of Air just taking Keeper of Air? Yeah, the fate's not there, right? But they can still splash all of the relevant stuff.
Stuck on double keeper rolls.
Double
Yeah,
Keeper
I mean,
really hurts their
it
economy.
wouldn't be optimal, but it's only till April, right? So the Tashi Rainbow rolls recycle then.
Their
And
Keeper...
then we'll have the new elemental rolls.
If they were Keeper Air, what does their row look like, right? It's Secret Cache, Upholding Rally,
Holding.
Shameful,
Shameful for sure.
and then Meditation.
And
I mean, honestly, that's not bad. That's not a bad row.
Yeah, it's a fine row.
That is...
The issue is the money. I think.
Yeah, I really like dual money.
Yeah, no, for sure. And,
Or
just
3 money with
Air being economy, period, right? It's money and cards. And cards like Mark of Shame are, it's expensive. It's a 2 Fate attachment on top of Scorpion's currently already expensive conflict deck.
Yeah. That's
So
true.
let's move down towards other clans. Let's talk about what Lion want. Derek.
So I'm kind of on the train of one keeper, one seeker for now.
Mhm.
So I think a keeper roll makes sense.
Go on.
I kind of want earth or water. The reason I don't really want water is I kind of want Seeker of Water the next time we choose roles, because I want Seeker of Water more than I want Keeper.
So if you put yourself on Keeper of Earth, are you okay with not playing Upholding Authority?
Yes,
You just throw like Ancestral Lands back under your box like old times?
I think so, yeah. Earth is an okay-ish ring to go first. It's pretty safe. It sucks if your opponent displays it, like in the sense that it doesn't help them that much.
Yeah,
Whereas
for
like
sure.
right now, if they display fire, like it blows. If they display
Yeah.
earth, you kind of like shrug. You're like whatever. So like going it first, getting keeper initiates is fine. Sabotage is probably better for Lion than like Peasant's Advice is. Just lots of like random stuff like that. It gives you access to the Lion like writ of authority thing, which to me looks bad, but some people are excited
So you're
for
not
that, I
even
guess.
really gunning for a high priority role.
Not really, no.
It's probably pretty good for you.
Yeah, I think that is going to be helpful because I don't think it looks very good for Lion going
So-
into this.
Is Unicorn going for its 3rd keeper role in a row, or are we finally going to see them pick a seeker? Lauren.
I mean, it's probably going to end up being Keeper of Water, right? I mean,
That's what I thought.
Come on, man! Come on!
things. But Seeker of Fire, I mean, it'd be really tough to let go. But I don't know. I think we need Keeper more. But
Talisman's
then,
so
I
good.
don't know, 'cause if we don't have Feast or Famine, like Talisman is not as cool.
Yeah. People were talking, I don't know if this is a common Unicorn thought, but they were talking about, what is it, Chasing the Sun or whatever?
Oh,
It's
God.
a Seeker card, it's 1 Fate, and you change the attacked province, like, while you're the attacker. I don't know, I can't say I hate it, but I can't say I love it either, but it is an interesting idea.
So here's why I don't really think that card is good. Your opponent gets the first activation when they're defending. So like if you attack a activatable province, if they use the action and then you move to another activatable province, you're giving them so much value, and you're discarding a card.
Yeah, fair.
And like
Also,
it's just
Feast or
another
Famine
card.
is not a thing now.
It's just another card in like a military aggressive deck that doesn't add numbers. And we've talked a lot about how these decks can't play those a lot of those cards. Like you're very limited in how many cards you can play that don't just pump.
I think it's useful, like if you have, let's say, Scorpion or Dragon, and it's the beginning, and you really just need to figure out where everything is, right? That's the only case
Sure.
in which it's useful.
Yeah, I think I'd pay a fate to just see more provinces
I mean,
from them.
You could play Peasant's Advice and a Yushi Wayfinder for those effects, and they seem a lot better.
Well, Wayfinder for sure. Peasant's Advice, I would not.
I would probably,
be positive
if you
on.
want that effect, I'd play Peasant's Advice over Chasing the Sun.
I think with Feast or Famine out of the meta, I would.
Sure.
think
I
for
definitely felt that way about like activatable provinces when that card first came out, because that's all there was. But I actually feel like there's less of those now that people are
Yeah, for
playing.
sure.
So
There's a lot of on breaks.
Yeah, so dodging on breaks might actually be something.
I mean, in a deck that wants to break to win, I feel like dodging on breaks is not the way to go. I feel like it's, try and manage when you can, but take the breaks when, even if they're going to punish you a little bit, because like
You
you
gotta
only
take it
have to
when
do
they
it so many
present
times before
themselves.
you just win.
Yeah,
And
I don't want to argue this card is good. I don't think this card is good.
Yeah,
I just
I
mean
don't.
it's
I don't
slightly better than when it came out.
feels bad when you only have a couple cards in your hand, you're on their stronghold, and you wish it was any other card.
Right.
Yeah.
What else do we have to talk about? We can talk about
Yeah,
Crab.
Brandon, you're.
Yeah,
Well, I
we
want to
have-
know what he feels about Crane here, because I think Crane is all over Seeker of Fire now, like flies on shit, dude.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Feast or Famine getting restricted certainly hurts it a bit.
If
Does
they
it?
don't get hit otherwise, Crane doesn't give a fuck, dude. I would gladly drop policy debate to run Feast or Famine in a fucking New York minute.
Yeah. I mean, that policy debate's powerful in its own right, but yeah, that's fair.
If my row is Magistrate Station, Feast or Famine, you lose by attacking me in a similar manner to when you attack Dragon. Like, you just lose sometime.
Yeah. Yeah, it's certainly it's not quite as good economy as the Secret Bear, but like,
Yeah.
good lord, yeah, that would be rough. Certainly, I think Magistrate's staying regardless. So like, I think Keeper of Fire's out for sure. And I don't really see anything else being super viable for Crane. I mean, like any of the Seeker roles, because that's the one that's leaving. I think are probably more what we'd worry about. And I don't think anybody's going to try and grab Seeker of Fire beforehand, right? Like,
Right.
Probably not
Scor-
anymore.
Scorpion doesn't want it. I don't see Phoenix wanting it. I don't see Dragon. Dragon can't take it.
It would
I
be a
wanted
crying
Seeker of
shame
Fire
if Guest
kill
of Honor
restriction.
gets restricted. Like, a month later, they're just like, by the way, here's a new restricted list. We've reevaluated some cards. Fuck Tadaka. Fuck Guest of Honor. Right? And then you just got Seeker of Fire and you get fucking blown out because you're definitely running Guest of Honor.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to let future restricted lists turn into what province should we not
Yeah.
take the game, because that just doesn't that doesn't sound
Like, you
fun
can
or
only play
entertaining at
around
all,
that
but
so much.
yeah.
But, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm hesitant to go into anything that's like this is on the restricted list or this card's really
I
powerful.
mean,
because
thankfully,
it
you
could get
probably
banned.
have your best keeper role right now. I think keeper air for Crane is just a real powerhouse as far
Yeah,
as being
for
a keeper
sure.
role.
I mean, they can't not have an air roll, in some capacity. Soul Beyond Reproach is, I think, a really important thing in some matchups.
and Mark of Shame is quickly becoming like, it just tells you you're about to get exploded, and that's just not a good feeling a lot of the time.
What
Moving
about
on to
Crab?
Crab here. I'm not going to rant on it too much, but if Crab doesn't get Keeper Water, I'm playing Scorpion until we get a good roll. Seeker Earth is terrible. It will never not be terrible. If they take Pathfinders off restricted, maybe. I know a lot of other Crab players, better players than I, who are likely to not play Crab if we just get, fucked in the roll selection process. If Unicorn outplaces us, power to them, it's nothing against them, but Crab literally need Keeper of Water. And I can't exaggerate this enough. It is our only option because we don't have other cards. We don't have any single role that is going to give us a better province row. and we don't have cards, so we have to get Keeper of Water because the only thing that is going to try to keep us afloat until Children of the Empire is Fight On.
You know what the worst part about this is? Is that you guys had the opportunity to get Keeper of Water.
Can we pick Secret of Earth again?
Yeah, definitely. So the benefit there though is that nobody else is going to take it, right?
Keeper of
Unicorn might take
Yeah.
Keeper
Yeah,
of Water.
Unicorn definitely could.
I would say they're extremely
Water.
likely to.
Their second best deck, right?
My assumption is that they're gonna take Keeper of Water over almost anything else. But there's merit to some other options. But whew.
So what happens during the role selection during elemental championships? Because that's when people vote, but you vote for your role, like either keeper or seeker and an element separately.
Yeah. So they announced all of the coming elemental championship voting process. So every single elemental championship event is going to take a poll, like a ballot, effectively from the top 2 players in each clan. Each of those players is going to get to submit 2 separate votes on that ballot. 1 vote for either keeper or seeker, and 1 vote for one of the 5 elementals roles. And then at the end, well, their idea is that they want to be able to let people, if people really want keeper because they really want to do something with the keeper effect, or they're out of they're on just 2 seekers, or they really want seekers, they're on 2 keepers. They can kind of force that. But my worry is that the top players in the clans are going to be too divided, and then we're going to see, all right, we really needed Keeper of Water. All right,
It's going to be
Seeker
Witch
of
Hunt
Water.
2.0. I mean, think of what happened when Mark chose the best role in the game for Scorpion and people crucified him for it for months. It's only going to get worse with something like this.
Well, what I think is going to happen is what Brandon just said, when like people are going to want Keeper of X and other people are going to want X of Fire, and you accidentally get Keeper of Fire in a clan that does not want Keeper of Fire, and then it's just going to be a clusterfuck of a bunch of clans getting roles they don't want.
Yeah. But like, is the democracy idea better than having a single player choose?
Possibly.
Why not just have ranked choice and just make the 2 players rank them?
I mean, you know what they could do
Rank
is
all
like
the
abolish
roles in
the
order.
system and just make you like choose the role you want to play when you build a deck, maybe to like encourage rogue deck building styles and fun. I don't know. It's a crazy
with
concept.
the role system. The point with the role system that they continue to say, which hit or miss, whatever, is that basically it allows the meta to change with nothing being banned and nothing being printed, which
Oh, of
isn't
course.
wrong. So like their point is basically that if all the roles were like unrestricted,
Right.
there would be no rogue decks. It would be the opposite of that. We would all agree that the best Scorpion deck was whatever, and we would only play that.
Yeah.
But I think stomping out the idea in its infancy, like the very concept of being able to play a different deck and try to innovate, is totally crushed by the rule system as well. It's kind of a catch-22. Like, I definitely agree with their point.
They've made
there.
it better though, right?
Yeah, you have 2, and they're only 4 months long. I don't think it's that big a deal.
Yeah.
I also don't think it's that big a deal. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
It was a big deal before when it was 1 and it was a
Yeah.
year. That was brutal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they figured it out. I think that certainly, the spoiler effect that we could have from some people picking, Fire of X and some people picking Keeper of X is a worry. And I think like ranked choice of roles would be good. I think one of the redeeming factors though about the elemental champion selection, multiple clans could potentially choose the same role, so you're not going to get locked out based on like results or whoever did better over a season, or anything like that. So really, like we kind of have a who's the best gets to choose first sort of deal at Worlds, and then the elemental rules are really
minute.
like if everybody wants something and it's really something that people want, then the clan will get it.
Does this mean we're fucked anyway?
In what way?
Isn't Phoenix gonna get Seeker of Void through this?
Yeah, if they don't get it
Yeah,
at
for
Worlds,
sure.
sure.
I can't
Fuck.
imagine them choosing
Why
anything
wouldn't
but
they?
Seeker of Void.
Yeah.
Like, you'd
So I
have to
guess
be a
nothing
real
really matters.
madman. Yeah, nothing really matters because the inevitable Phoenix Overlord uprising is
So
happening soon.
yeah, start your doomsday clock now.
Oh, as if it hasn't already been started over the past few fucking months, right?
I mean, hey, if we have to play through like 6 months of crappy Phoenix wins to get to Daka Band,
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
That said, Scorpion will get Seeker of Air. I mean, at some point if they don't get it, right? So if Dragon hates them out of it, you will get it in the next Elemental Championship season at the very least.
Yep.
Although, I mean, at that point though, we are talking about like not the far future, but we're talking about a full product release, like a major
things may
product
have
release
changed
after.
by then.
Yeah.
It's true.
I don't
I mean-
think Void, like I don't think Seeker Void Phoenix changes. I think it's just
Korimori is
In-
printed and it's
it's
waiting in
ungodly.
people's binders.
it's ungodly. It's not even in
I
everybody's
think,
binder.
though, the product release is coming out Q1.
Mhm.
I think that we probably won't have a lot of knowledge ahead of time before we get to make these. A lot of the votes are already cast.
Yeah.
So if it's coming out in Q1 and this role is being selected in April, like at least half of all of the votes will have been cast before we have really any more spoilers to it.
Yep. Which is, I mean, we're in for a little bit of a wild ride. I think it's going to be a bumpy start, and then things will even out. You know, Children of the Empire is going to be a huge infusion of cards. It's going to take people a little bit to learn and understand what we want to do with them. But I think probably midway through the year, at the next rotation of roles, is really when we're going to start seeing things start to fall more neatly into place.
I'm excited for the Calamity.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting show to watch. So
It's certainly
see
going
what
to be a
happens.
wild ride for everybody. Doesn't matter what
And-
clan you are.
Also, you know, the general level of play since last Worlds is
So much higher.
improved exponentially. So like I can't even wait to watch the streams, but also like these role selections are going to be much better and much more informed than what last role selection was.
Hey, you guys want to roll? It's like, I guess so.
I'll take Keeper of Void.
Keeper of Fire. It's like, all right, well, you know, hey, you take what you can get sometimes. Oh man. So what do we got left?
Well, as far as role
Tournament
stuff, we've
rules.
talked about all that. We do
You
have
know-
some rules that come up
Yeah.
from the tournament side of things. If you want to cover that real quick.
I do.
Oh my gosh! So we had 3 important changes to the tournament regulations that we're all kind of waiting for. The real quick one is finally the second player getting the fate has been removed from the tournament rules just in time for Worlds, so nobody can argue that, but it's in the tournament rules.
Oh, thank God.
So that is set. The other 2 changes to the tournament rules are effectively regarding end of round procedure.
Big deal stuff.
Yeah, big deal sort of stuff. We have one somewhat short update, which is just the round times have changed slightly. They've updated the rounds to 65 minutes, like we saw in that update that was out for like 3 days, mid-July, I think it was. So we've updated round times in tournaments to 65 minutes for normal rounds, 65 minutes for single elimination rounds, both up from 60, and the finals still remain at 100. Which is interesting, but the real meat of that comes coupled with the end of round changes, and we have been introduced to the Emperor's Judgment. So the Emperor's Judgment is kind of their new term for the old end of round procedures, the tiebreak system, where you count, you get 2 points for every broken province up to 6, so you can't break all 4 of their home row ones. You get 2 points if you're the most honorable, and the player with the favor has 1. The big deal with that system that they've removed is that there's no at time being called. There's no you immediately win because you're up by 5 anymore.
Thank
That's
God.
completely removed. So just because you're down a little bit on some things and about to come in for a break, doesn't mean you just automatically lose. Or if you definitely can break 2 provinces that turn to do it, you're not gonna the game instead. So that's nice. The weird stuff is kind of where we get with how the match points work. So at 65 minutes, the time is going to be called. And at that point, both players have a chance to concede just like they've always been. However, if that does not happen, you're going to keep playing until the end of the round. You're not allowed to start a new dynasty phase once 65 minutes has been reached. At the end of that turn or at the 75-minute mark into the round, so 10 minutes after 10 minutes after time is called. If the game's not over, you immediately proceed to the Emperor's Judgment. Or if the round ends without there being a clear winner, you proceed to the Emperor's Judgment. And that works pretty much like it did in the past. However, if you can get your match slip in by 70 minutes, so 5 minutes after time is called, regardless of whether you went to Emperor's Judgment or conceded or actually won, you get a full win and a full loss. And if you turn your match slip in after the 70 minutes, whether it's from the Emperor's Judgment or whether it's from a full win or whether it's from somebody picking up their cards because they conceded even though they're not technically allowed to, we will have a modified win and a modified loss.
I hate
which-
this modified win-loss shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Can you walk
still
us through a modified win and a modified
Absolutely.
loss versus
Yeah.
full?
So in the normal tournament point structure, every win you get gets you 10 points. Every loss you get gets you 1 point. In most of the major tournaments, usually
Cut is
your
based on points.
cut is based on points.
Yeah.
And there are the things like the clan challengers in Cotes, but most of the time the way to make it in is very, very difficult. You need to lose a total of 1 game, whether that's by a modified win, or whether that's by a loss or a modified loss. And the point gates usually were around, you could have 2 modified wins, and everything else is full wins with the 1 loss to make it. But if you had 3 modified wins, you usually would not make it. So the modified win system is, instead of having the 10 points for winning, you get 6 points for winning, a little bit over half. And modified losses, instead of getting the 1, you get 0 match points. And I think that I understand the modified loss being 0 points. You know, if you're way behind, dragging out the round when you're not going to win anyway is dumb. It should not happen, and so you are penalized for that. The problem is the 6 points for the modified win is seriously and heavily factored into their point gate for getting into like the top cuts in the major tournaments. And like that often means the tiebreak between being able to make it on record, or in the clan challenger system, being able to have made it in, or have to play in your first round because there aren't enough clan challengers to give everybody a buy into the round. And it's a pretty heavy source of
So-
contention.
What you're telling me is that I can like be on my winning in round and get fucked by somebody slow playing, even if I win.
You can. And
Cool.
not- Yeah, but like not only like screwed out of the match points, and then potentially like your choice for things. Like you could actually because somebody slow plays you and you're in a very popular, very good, well-off clan that's doing very well in the tournament, you could make the point value, and then somebody screws you in the last round because they're slow playing, and then you don't become a Hatamoto compared to somebody who does. And that happened to the Scorpion, one of the Scorpion players in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yep,
I mean,
he had a modified win because his opponent slow played. And what I'm not saying that his opponent intentionally slow played, but
His opponent
certainly
played slow, which is
his-
different
yeah,
than slow
his
played.
opponent played slowly, and because their match didn't finish on time, he had a modified win and missed out on Hatamoto, that he would have gotten otherwise. The clan challenger instead got Hatamoto, and then he didn't have to play in the first round. Like the clan challengers still had to duke it out, but the impact on modified win is not minimal in some cases.
it's
Cannot stand
horrifying.
these changes.
So I think what they're trying to get at is, they want people who go to timer or who are playing very complex decks to have a chance to not just immediately get a modified win if somebody doesn't want to concede to them. But I could see with L5R events having such minimal floor coverage, usually like 2 or 3 judges for like a couple hundred player event,
And loose rules for definitions of things.
and no effective penalty system.
Mm-hmm.
I am afraid of what is going to happen when the 70-minute mark is called and somebody the 65-minute mark is called, and then somebody's just mad that their opponent got the better of them and then decides to stall. Which
There's a lot of angles to shoot in these new rules, and I hate them.
yeah, it's just it's certainly the breathing room that they're trying to give is good, but it feels less like breathing room to me, and it feels more like a giant like truck-sized hole for people to just loop
To
through.
grief.
Yeah.
And it's
I mean,
just
the problem with modified wins and losses in the first place, I've spoken to Kyle, I guess, about this, maybe not Eric, but it just causes confusion. It just causes all sorts of confusion. I've seen it happen in numerous tournaments locally, like with legitimate turnouts for players, where people are just like, they don't even understand that, like, oh, you know, I'll play it out so it's better for us. It's like, no, actually, if you play it out, it's worse. Like, you should concede. And it's like, well, one, that's fucking stupid. It's unintuitive. And two, all it does is cause this weird disconnect and this potential for unwelcome feelings between players. Because somebody who doesn't know exactly how this is going to affect their major tournament record might want to play the game out to learn more, to play more, but like they might not know they're actively fucking their opponent over. And that sucks. That's so shitty.
Yeah, and you can't explain something like that in like the last couple rounds of a major tournament where somebody's, you know, it's their first tournament and they're doing well and they don't want to just stop playing. But like if you sit down and tell your opponent, hey, we've just gone to time, I'm definitely going to win this game. If you concede to me now, I can get a full win, and if not, you're going to screw me. And like you can't,
like you
there's
can't
no way
even
to
just saying
communicate
that is awkward, you know?
right? Yeah, exactly. So I've had that conversation before. I had that conversation at Gen Con, and one of the judges at Gen Con, who was, you know, he hadn't judged before and he came from the Magic world, was pretty upset that that was a conversation we were having and told us to play it out. And then my opponent, who was I feel was going to you know, go ahead and concede, decided not to, because he was afraid that the judge was going to like get in trouble. We were going to get in trouble, and so we just played it out. And I won, and instead of getting you know, a win, I got a modified win. And that didn't necessarily contribute to my not making top 8 or clan challenger, but like it was a bad experience, and it could have, right? I mean, that affected how many match points I had, which affected who I played in the next round.
I mean, Derek, as a TO, like how do you feel about not only the new rulings but just the way in which modified wins and losses work?
So at local events, I just pretty much ignore them at this point because they're just like too
Same.
confusing for people who don't go to events a lot. I mean, I agree that like at larger events they're like super frustrating. I also think that the whole conversation that Brandon's describing, where you try and convince your opponent to concede, is awful. And like a lot of the time, one person is like convinced they're going to win and they're wrong. So then it's also stupid.
I mean, that's also a huge issue, right?
And I don't mean the person who's like arguing that they like shouldn't concede. Like sometimes the person trying to convince you to concede thinks they're going to win and they're wrong.
And you can't, like, on a raw technical level, like, if a judge was just watching you, you actually can't show them your cards either. You can't be like, no, I for sure got this, and show them your 2 fate worse than deaths. Like,
well, that even gets worse, because then your opponent, like, somehow perfectly plays. They're like, oh, well, I play around that. And it's like, you probably wouldn't.
Right.
So, yeah, the whole
It's very
situation
hard
is, like,
to
awful.
compete in games like L5R because you're investing so much. Like, you know, after playing for an hour, you feel like you've put your heart and soul into it.
Yeah, it's fucking awful. It's awful to have to concede, and it's awful to have to, like... because, like, when you're on the end of which you're going to win, you want your opponent to concede, but you also don't want to be that guy who's trying to tell them to or convince them to. And on the other end, you don't want to be the guy who has to concede because it's like, fuck, like, I could do this. It's just only a recipe for bad feelings across the fucking board.
Yeah, I mean, like, the modified win, modified loss, all of it in general just causes more hurt than it fixes. And I definitely, like, there should be something to stop people from just needlessly playing out. And I like the fluff behind it of, you know, we're honorable samurai. Why not stop wasting lives? We should just, you know, do the honorable thing and concede here. But like, that's I think a break with you know how tournaments are played. Like, no high end tournament player is going to be like, yeah, you know, it maybe Mark would, but like, you know, nobody else is going to be like, yeah, you know, let's not waste lives here, and you got it.
Wild how the most honorable of samurai is like a spider and scorpion man, right?
Yeah, well, of course. But like it just does more harm than good. And this new there's 5 minutes to get your match slip in nonsense with such
That's-
minimal floor coverage
This
is
is
just
that's the part I
it's
hate
a-
the most.
it's such a recipe for disaster.
Dude, it takes me
I would
5
bet
minutes to pick my shit
any
up.
amount of money.
Yeah.
I'm
any
gonna have to
amount of
leave
money,
my shit just
I'm gonna have
sitting
it.
at a fucking Kote table, like, just so I could rush down a judge and fucking tackle him and force my slip down his throat. Like, what the hell?
Well, no, I mean presumably judges will be there to grab it, but like
Right, but in the off chance they're not, I'm just gonna have to leave my shit on the table because I don't want to risk getting a modified win. You know, like I'm gonna leave hundreds of dollars of shit just sitting on a table so I can make sure I get my slip in. And that's
I'm
just
excited.
one aspect of it.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see how Fantasy Flight accomplishes that Worlds, knowing that hoping that I'm going to be judging at PAX Unplugged. So we'll see what they do that we can bring to the table so that we can make the experience at PAX Unplugged be less miserable. Excuse me, for everybody.
All right. Let's move on to our last big topic of the day, and it's going to be our overarching podcast discussion of this episode, which is kind of a bit talking about like what is aggro decks versus control decks. You know, what do these things exist in L5R as opposed to how they were defined previously in other games, and some strategy stuff to go along with it. So I'm just going to run headfirst right into Derek and like, let's talk about aggressive decks in L5R.
Oh man, where to start?
You tell
So
me.
I think L5R definitely has aggressive decks and control decks, but I definitely think that the rules themselves lend some amount of control to both players because things leave play naturally. So I think it weakens aggro decks to an extent, and I think cards that look like aggro cards if they were in another game can be played as like control cards in some matchups, which is not intuitive. I don't know,
Examples.
just like okay, example, bonsai. So like if there was a card like that in another game, it would be seen as
It's
like
like
probably an
giant
aggro
growth.
card. Yeah, it's like giant growth. It's like an aggro card.
Sure.
But because the rules of the game reward not advancing the game state sometimes, it was a big revelation in the greater metagame of this game when people realized that the best use for bonsai is to counterspell your opponent's bonsai.
That's why I play too.
So, like, that's kind of what I mean. Where like the aggro deck isn't necessarily the deck that you would think, which is like foreshadowing for what we're going to talk about later.
All right.
But I definitely think aggro decks exist. I think you just have to be careful when you're playing them that you don't aggro too hard, basically, into the rules of the game itself.
Kind of
Keep
goes
going.
hand in hand with some of the things we've spoken about before. Don't aggro yourself so hard that you just shit your hand away and lose.
Yeah, like the game, right? The game at the end of every turn, I'm gonna make a magic reference. At the end of every turn, every creature gets doombladed. Basically, like that's to a certain extent, like that's giving the control player like free control that they don't pay for. So you have to not lose to that by aggroing too aggressively. I know we had talked about earlier, like swarm versus towers. I kind of feel like, in a weird way, towers are like almost a part of control, where you're like trying to set up this clock by making like a super unit or two.
I feel like, towers in this game are inherently at least mid-rangey.
They're not dissimilar to Tron builds, like Voltron builds rather, like Voltron
Yes.
MTG stuff. You're assembling this unit that is going to do massive amounts of work for you, and the opponent is on, like Derek said, that sort of clock.
Yeah, but you're really only doing towers in what? Dragon, Crab?
Dragon, crab. Uni has a
Yeah,
couple targets for towering, but I mean, mostly
there are
there's
3 attachment clans, which are those 3. And
yeah.
all of them can put together a tower. Like, you can make a Master of the Swift Waves with 4 attachments on it. She's gonna hurt stuff.
I fucking love that
Seem
card.
like the best way to use the resources.
Do you
may
prefer
absolutely be
swarming?
correct.
Yeah, like so when you're unicorning, do you just raw swarm? Do you ever tower? Like, do you ever feel the need to? I guess.
Avoid it. You know, if it happens, it happens, but it's not something I'm ever going for. I want to get like start as quick as possible and just have that to utilize. So
I see.
definitely more swarm.
So it's like, you know, on the off chance you could build that master into a tower, I mean, you kind of go for it, but there's not really it's not like your sole game plan is to get that master out with 15 billion fate and 20 attachments.
I don't think that's the right play.
I see.
I mean, I feel like it can't really be your game plan if you don't have the unbows to make use of it multiple times, right?
Yeah, that too. And you've got clans like Dragon and Crab who just have unbow effects.
And you just can't utilize it enough. I mean, I have Shinatome encampment, but
Relying on a holding is a bad look. Or it's tough at least.
there's something to be said about loading the Mishoto's, you know, attachments on. But yeah.
Yeah, I think Shahai makes a pretty unique tower target in that she not only gains value by being towered like every character does, but she literally gives you value while towering her, right? Reducing the cost of the Meishoto stuff by 1 is pretty nice. I mean, that much economic gain can be pretty big.
Like, you know, depending on what clan you're playing against, there's so many that are just going to destroy your tower.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm playing against a Phoenix, she's just going to be bowed immediately. If I'm playing against Scorpion, you know, it's certainly fate worse than death. It just doesn't seem worth it to invest that much.
It definitely does seem like Unicorn if they wanted to tower. Like, they basically have one tower target, and I wouldn't even consider him like a classical style of tower target. But like, if you're going to tower anything super consistently, it's like Shono, right? Like, Phoenix decimates Shahai, decimates Master Swiftways, etc.
And I mean, you can tower Shono, but I feel like I'm usually charging him in. Fate to back it.
Yeah, I've rarely paid for Shono. I think I've charged him in the overwhelmingly vast majority of times.
If your best charge target is not, you know, is the same as your tower target.
Yeah.
I think we can agree that like the aggressive decks in the game are, you know, right now it's Lion and Unicorn, and they're occupying kind of a similar space, but mostly like similar spaces, but doing it differently. In that one is playing wide and one is playing tall, but in a different sort of tall than Dragon is, where Dragon is playing tall with attachments and Lion's almost like playing tall with events and just big guys. Both like breaking boxes in different, or using their breaking provinces and using their box in different ways. So like these are 2 similar but different strategies in the 2 aggressive decks. But like how do we get these aggressive strategies that have in the past been suffering and not playable up to even better than where they are right now? Like, they've come a long way to be playable in the current
Not worth it.
meta, but like how do we get them the next step forward?
Yeah, I mean, what's the... Like, Derek, let's start... Hmm?
With political, I mean, we can kind of just avoid political conflicts altogether now. That seems like the way to go, but...
So is the move for them to print E-Day cards for Unicorn, actually, like, do you think if Unicorn could consistently put out strong, like, or even decent political presence to back up their pretty decent military presence, like, is that where you would like them to go with it, or do you think there's a way for them to continue along the line they're going to still put Unicorn on the map in a better way?
looks like to play around with more of the E-Day and just kind of see if we can bolster that a little. I don't know if it's the way to do it, but I'd like to kind of see what that looks like.
Yeah, I think it's probably better for them to diversify than bark up the same tree too much. Derek, in the case of Lion, do you think that there's any one specific thing or combination of things that would put Lion perhaps a bit more on the map than they are now that you would like to see?
Lions weird because I feel like there's a lot of different directions it could go, and all of them are probably viable. They're just not far enough in any of those directions. Just from like an aggro sense, like they probably need a little bit more economy, like fate-wise, because the thing that happens with like tower meta is like you run out of gas and maybe they're not dead. So you probably need just a little bit more money, which like the Seeker stuff helps with, but
Are you saying that because you need money to counteract with how efficient their stuff is compared to yours?
that too, but also like you never get passing fate like ever. Stuff
Sure.
like that.
Yeah, that's brutal. That's a really brutal aspect of learning the Lion economy that is, I think, understated.
Yeah, like you actually like the big galaxy brain play is that you actually eventually have to get passing fate or you're going to lose every game. So you have to like
So-
decide when you're going to get it.
I feel like this is play stuff, which we can totally get into when we get into the game. But I want to talk more about like card pool, card focus things.
So the line needs cards that make money, like for Greater Glory. It needs to be unrestricted. That'd be sweet.
Please God, no.
Or it needs to be like get some more control elements so that if the game goes long, it's okay. Which they need to like have more support for things like Kage and like Tactician's Apprentice and stuff like that.
I
Right
love
now,
Tactician's
it's
You're
like,
happy
Apprentice.
with them playing into that theme?
I would take either of those things.
Okay.
I don't think either one is quite there yet, but like both are. I think if the cards that were printed for those themes were like good enough, I think both of those are reasonable.
I think they could coexist well together with the right combination of cards.
So this is going to be sort of off topic, but like this is where I thought that like Ageless Crone would be a lion theme because I thought it would go with like the needing more money. Like, okay, we're not going to give you more money, but we're going to make you tax your opponent's money. So it kind of feels like you have more money. But then they printed that unicorn card, and I have no idea.
I mean, we've talked about this. We can talk about it again. I feel like they just thought. I think they thought they couldn't load two of those things into the same place.
And that could be. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that would have just been. I mean,
I
far be it for them to
still
stop
think-
at negative play experience, but I think that would have been negative play experience.
The thing is with the influence system, they're already in the same place. It's just not line. It's unicorn. So, like-
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
They are in the same place.
All
I
right,
wonder if they
well,
just felt you needed the help more.
That's going to do it for episode 4 of the podcast. Join us at 7:30 next week on twitch.tv/NEL5R for episode 5.
It's gonna be fucking sweet.